Parents of Reddit, what are some secrets about you that your kids have no idea about? Speaking as the child here, but I found out that my dad killed someone when he was young. My mom told me, blurted it out even though I was never supposed to know. Dad doesn't know that I know. I really want to ask him about it, but at the same time I don't. I tried googling and I found his prison number, but the records were expunged after he turned his life around. It doesn't scare me. I remember thinking at the time that I know he would do anything to protect us, even if that meant killing an attacker. It's just so weird because my dad is the most mellow, calm and wonderful person in the world. I love him so much, but I know when he was young he had a really rough life. I think about it a lot. I'm not a parent, but my parents grew weed, and I have a photo of myself standing in a weed garden. We had an incubator room. They were allegedly tomato plants. We actually did grow tomatoes, and the plants are surprisingly similar, to a point. At the time, I just dealt with the plants. Had no idea. My nephew is 13 now, going on 14 in high school. His father was in jail for a year for drug possession trafficking, and his mother was a porn star and had a golden shower video online for a while. I really hope he doesn't stumble onto any of those vids. He's starting to get to that age. I used to play mini games to win coins on there, Club Penguin, before they shut it down. They think it's some kind of glitch with the game. I like the dancing one and the tobogganing ones the best, but those are also pretty much the only two I can consistently find. I always get lost, but I'm pretty good at those ones and can win some coins. I frequently post comments online under the name Adolf Hitler. Can I comment as the child? I just learned my dad is trans. Got all the way to uni. Had no frickin' idea. My parents were divorced and seemed to hold back a lot. My dad would go out on weekends to drink wine with some work buddies. Turned out the divorce was related to my father being trans. And his going out was finally dressing as who she was with a few friends who knew. It is a lot to swallow. I still have no idea what to call my father. Mother? She. But my father has been there for everything and of course I accept them. I duck their mom. Anally. My children have no idea that we are poor. We rent an okay sized house for our family away from the poor or dangerous part of town. We often are very low on food, but our kids think we haven't had time to get to the store yet. Our utilities, phone, etc. are shut off nearly every month, but we blame outages. We also do not completely hold back their childhood. We still do things and go places that are fun, often free or obtained through connections. We are facing eviction now, and if when we move, it will be harder to gloss over, but in the meantime, our children have almost no idea that we are very poor and scraping by day to day. Commenting as the child here. Found out my mom used to work at a Playboy club when she was younger. There she met a Hells Angel who she dated for a few years. She got arrested for drug possession when she went to drop off sugar to a friend of his. Mom's BF sold drugs, obviously, and it all came to an end when he asked my mom to marry him. Mom said no. He shot himself in front of her. None of this my mom knows I know. Found out bits and pieces when my dad would blurt something out or I would eavesdrop as a kid. They can't even imagine my past. I now live in a middle class bubble with my husband and my children, but I grew up in a poverty stricken area with very few opportunities. I lived on a travelers community for some time in my late teens, then in squats in London during the early 90s. My husband and I play Battlefield together for hours when my son goes to bed. We strictly limit his video game time these days as he was getting pretty addicted to gaming. It was affecting his grades at school, so we pulled the pin for a few months before allowing him an hour or two on the weekends. Edit. I agree wholeheartedly about introducing hobbies and activities into kids' lives, without bombarding them with too much. Since my son has started to play sport, he's met some quality friends. He's happier now and spends a lot more time doing things he enjoyed doing before his gaming addiction. I'm not my daughter's biological father. Her bio father has never been around. I did meet her till she was 3. As far as she knows I'm dad. Eventually she'll learn her birthday and our wedding anniversary and connect the dots. Being a dad has made me the happiest man alive. That I'm not actually his mum, because I'm a guy, and human, while he's a cat. Can I share a secret that I know but my mom doesn't know I know? My parents got divorced when I was 3. I don't remember it very well other than them yelling at each other a lot. Many years later my father was upset about something and told me the reason they got a divorce was because my mother was cheating on him with my now stepdad who lived on the floor above them. That sucks. It doesn't really change my view of my mom because she was always very loving and is a great person. But it's an interesting view into her life that I've never talked about with her. I'm 40 now and everyone is pretty happy. I don't see any point in bringing it up. I'm the child in this one. Though I'm 55. Father passed away 20 years ago. Mom is 83. Last year I went on Ancestry.com and found out my dad was married twice before he married my mom. Have no idea if she knows and can't bring myself to ask. As a kid, I found out when I was about 20 that after my brother and sister were born, Mum wanted another child but dad didn't because he got the son he wanted. So she went off the pill and didn't tell him. It actually explains a huge amount about our relationship. Brother is the favorite. Sister and I were largely ignored and could never do anything right. That I had been married and divorced before I met their mum. It's a part of my life they don't need to know just yet. I'll tell them when they're older and mature enough to understand. I ducked their mom at least 3 times. He is 2. He has no idea what a middle name is. His is Thor. He will either love the name Thor or hate it. Ah cute, oh ah cute. I spent 2 years in prison, got released, and had full custody of my 4-year-old. Then 3. A couple of months later, I was a bad drug addict when he was born. And one of the things I had done caught up to me. When I got clean, I became a new man. Spent every day of those 2 years planning my new life. At the same time, his mother fell down a black hole. She was the shy, quiet girl who I couldn't get to drink some vodka with me. When I got home she was a negligent stripper, with various older sugar daddies supporting her while abusing my son both emotionally and physically. Before I even went home on my release date, I spent 2 hours in court filing papers just for visitation, as she wouldn't voluntarily allow me to see my son. Once I was approved by a judge and saw what was going on, it didn't take much to persuade that same judge to let him live with me. Although I came ready with character statements from my parole officer and employer. This was a little over a year ago, and his mother is slowly coming back into the picture. She seems to be making positive progress, and I know as well as the next guy how important a second chance can be. It's honestly the hardest thing I've had to do, knowing what has happened in the past. But it's necessary in my mind. I won't be the reason my son doesn't have a mother. I've cried myself to sleep so many times because I simply don't know what's right. I've even lost the respect of the judge after I went from demanding her not be around him while the judge gave her visitation, to then coming back a month later to tell him she was doing a fine job during the couple of hours each Saturday he gave her with our son. It seemed as if he believes I should either be all against her or all for her, with a never changing opinion. The way I look at it, I walk into his courtroom and tell him the truth. If the truth is positive for my son's mother, absolutely great. If it's negative, so be it. I can take care of him myself, with family support of course. I will never let my son know what his mother allowed happen to him. It's simply not my place. I'm here to keep him safe and as happy as possible. And I swear on my life I try every damn day to ensure this. I hope she does well. And I never have to answer why she isn't around. If I do, I honestly don't know what I'd say. One day, however, I will most likely tell him my story. If it can be of use to him, I will let him know how drugs affected me. I'm not too eager for this, and will only tell him if it's relevant. But for now, those are my secrets. Life has been a crazy 23 years for me so far. Edit. Thank you for the gold whoever you are. That, along with all of the upvotes, absolutely saved my day today. So thank you for them too. This was a harder Saturday compared to most, as his mother took him to an indoor water park. Being 4, that clearly makes her the favorite parent to him, at least for the day, and he makes sure I know it. Thank you all for your support. I promise to keep giving it my all. One day, I will ejaculate you into your mother's V, then we shall meet. Abuse. Lots of it. Tons of drugs and sex. Arrested. Nothing serious thankfully. Suicide attempts. The list goes on. Now for the most part I'm a contributing member of society. Scary, right? Speaking as the child. But my parents split up when I was about 6 months old. As I grew up, I'd question why. My dad always said there were money issues. My mom always said they weren't meant to be. Finally, when I was about 21, I overheard my aunt telling my girlfriend the truth. While my mom was a few months pregnant with me, my dad walked in on her and another guy having sex. They were engaged at this point. They decided they were going to try making it work after this incident for my sake. Obviously, that didn't last much longer. Neither of them know I know the truth. My mom is married to the guy she cheated on my dad with. My dad now has 3 sons with 3 different women and seemingly can't find happiness. I love my stepdad, so I'm not upset about anything. But I feel terrible for my dad. I jack off when I say I'm taking a midday nap. Child here. We had a dog that we did not give the attention it deserved. So one day he followed our neighbor's dog into the road and got hit. Conveniently when no one was home. 2 years later at a new friend's house, I meet his dog, which looked just like my old dog. It even had on the exact same collar. What? Capital A. Coincidence. S. I'm pretty sure my dad visits prostitutes. I'm the only one who knows. And I have literally no idea what to do with the information. Or how to process it. I know because I snooped where I shouldn't snoop. Curiosity killed the cat and all that. As the parent, mommy and daddy don't really take 30 minutes to get dressed in the morning with our door locked. I think they believe it's normal to take a long time because we do. But it's always the easiest excuse. I had to go to a crisis center when she moved out. She'd find that level of attachment off-putting, I'm sure. Found out a secret my parents were keeping from us. About 5 years ago I started figuring out why my parents would go out all the time at night and wouldn't come back till about 3 AM. They always told me that they were hanging out with friends and going to see late night shows in the city. I was about 18 at the time and didn't think much of it. Then one day my mom had a close friend come over to hang out. Which I thought was weird because I've never seen this dude before. Turns out my parents were swingers and they'd been trying to hide it from us as long as they could lol. They finally told us about it 2 years ago. Turns out my dad was gay and had been seeing another guy for a while. It was really hard for him to tell us cause I could see it in his eyes he didn't want to disappoint us, but we didn't care. As long as they were happy I didn't care what they did. Then my dad passed away a few months later due to a ducking ATV accident. My mom ended up marrying the guy she was seeing. He helped us out a bunch and is an alright guy. Edit. Spelling. P. If it's something you do now, they know. Or they will. Your kids aren't as dumb as you think. And you're not as sneaky. This is a weird one. My dad died in 2013. It was an impressively depressing and bizarre situation. About a month afterwards, my older brother just casually blurts out that before my dad married my mum, he had a whole other family, a wife and 3 kids, and I never knew any of it. Neither did my younger brother. It's not like they were keeping it from us. I just never knew. I still have no idea who they are or where they are. Not a parent, but a child who didn't know a secret of both my parents for 20 years. Found out from an offhand statement. My parents' marriage is their second one. That is to say, prior to getting married to each other, they had been married to different people and both divorced. I was surprised, but mostly impressed because they managed to keep it a secret for so long. Both our children were drunken birthday presents. One is born 9 months after his birthday, one 9 months after mine. Also, mum supported dad through university and earned the deposits for their home by working as a strippogram. Pretty much everything at this point, as he is almost 2. My daughter tells me about Pokemon, their names, etc. I do the typical "oh, that's neat, honey." She has no idea how much of a Pokemon master I am. Not a dad yet, but will be in about 2 months. I plan on keeping the fact that I toured the US with a deathcore band as guitar player right after I got out of high school. Been out of the music game for years now though. I'll reveal it if he ever gets into music and starts to think I'm not cool enough to understand. I convince my 4 years daughter we are poor to teach her to appreciate the stuff she has, when in reality we could afford whatever she wants. High school and college will be fun when she realizes we are not poverty-stricken rats. I used to be a PSR. I clawed my way out of it and believe necessity is the mother of invention. I hide the good snacks on the top shelf of the pantry where he can't see. Their father and I are in a daddy-dom relationship and are swingers. I taped a dildo to my head and ducked a stripper with it in college. Friends called it unicorn ducking. I hope they never find out. Well, since our first child is still growing in my wife, literally everything is an unknown secret to that child. Haha. Santa Claus doesn't really exist. Actually the child here. Apparently my father used to street race, do drugs, weed, not hardcore stuff, and a bunch of other things. Knowing this explains a lot of things about him. He has completely turned his life around, so I think that's one of the reasons he is so hard on me. Truly is a good guy though. I've got weed growing in the closet and they think it's an electrical box. Coming from the child point of view, my dad cheated on his girlfriend when he was a young adult and got the girl he cheated with pregnant, and that's how my half sisters were born, and how my dad ended up in a nasty divorce that left him broke. Also my grandpa cheated on his wife and that's why I have 2 grandmas on my dad's side. I have made the vow to break the chain of adultery in my family. My parents bought my sister and I 2 cats shortly before my sister left for summer camp. While she was there one of the cats was killed by our dog, so we just replaced it with an identical cat. 5 years later she still has never figured it out. Injuries. So many burns. I have to wear a special suit just to fight off infections. They see me wearing it but they don't ask about it. It's black just like my soul. Oh yeah, and one's a Jedi. Following the theme of this thread, not a parent but my parents supposedly had a son before I was born. I don't know too many of the details but he apparently died when he was around 1 year old. I found this out by my grandma slipping and mentioning something about it. To me I don't need to ask them because I feel like asking them would bring up a lot of grief and heartbreak that just isn't necessary. As the child, my dad was charged for child molestation when I was like 6. I wasn't supposed to ever know. A girl I played with in our apartments hung out at my house all the time because I got the new Sega Genesis. Her mom would hang out with my dad occasionally and was comfortable. Well, she was over after dark once while my dad was partying. Story was he caught her in the bathroom and molested her. He went to jail for a while, in and out of court. Eventually the charges were dropped. I never understood why her mom wouldn't let her play with me anymore. We moved very soon after and I remember thinking we moved to find me new friends. I found the court records when I was around 13-14 stashed in some paperwork. I couldn't believe it. I asked my aunt and she confirmed what I read. There's a part of me that thinks he could have been guilty, but since he had a good lawyer he beat it. The other part of me hopes otherwise. I don't think he knows that I know that I broke up with their dad 8 months ago. He won't leave the house. And I can't go anywhere with 4 kids and no job. So we're all stuck here. He is a very unhappy man and I wish he'd go. I'm the kid, but was raised an only child until I was almost 20. Then my mom sat me down to tell me I had an older sister. Mom had gotten pregnant in high school with her then itty boyfriend. Gave my sis up for adoption. The craziest part is she lived 30 minutes away from us my whole life. My sis and I are now very best friends. But it did a number on me mentally when I first found out.